Hello children, how are you? All are fine, right? Okay, you are studying well by staying at home. We are also doing our best to deliver you the best of our lessons. Children, keep yourself safe during these tough times and study well at the same time. Now, we'll move into the topic. In our previous video, we have discussed the topic that is nutrition in various organisms, types of nutrition. A brief discussion of nutrition was done and we directly entered into autotrophic nutrition in plants. Related to autotrophic nutrition, we saw a experiment that is related to photosynthesis. The experiment was that starch is produced as a result of photosynthesis. Now, we have still some more experiments related to photosynthesis. We need to cover up those experiments. Okay, what are the experiments we need to deal with? Let us look. First, we know that carbon dioxide is required for photosynthesis. We have an experiment to prove this. Carbon dioxide is required for photosynthesis can be proved with help of an experiment. That experiment is first discussion. Second, when photosynthesis is completed, oxygen is liberated. This also can be proved. Oxygen is liberated during photosynthesis. Can also be proved with the help of an experiment. Third experiment is sunlight is required for photosynthesis. Sunlight is required for photosynthesis. So these three experiments will deal with. Okay. First, let us start with an experiment that's nothing but carbon dioxide is required for photosynthesis. Okay. This experiment is also called as Mohl's-Hartley experiment. MOHL apostrophe S. Mohl's-Hartley experiment. Mohl's-Hartley experiment. Okay. This is what we are discussing now. Let us move.
An experiment to prove that carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis. The materials required for this experiment are a potted plant which is having long leaves, potassium hydroxide, a glass bottle which is having very long neck, iodine solution and grease, and a split cork. We need to take a potted plant which is having long and narrow leaves. Now take this potted plant and keep it in a dark condition for a weekday. This helps. By keeping the plant in darkness for a week, what happens is plant will not be able to perform photosynthesis. So no new starch is produced and whatever starch is present in the plant is already used up. This condition suits the experiment. When we start the experiment, there is no starch inside the leaf. So that suits the experiment. Now after a week, we are taking the plant from the darkness. This is a plant which is not having any starch. Now we take 5 to 6 ml of potassium hydroxide solution into the bottle which is having the long neck. Now with the help of a split cork, we are fixing one of the leaf of the potted plant into this bottle in which we have taken the potassium hydroxide solution. So that no air from outside enters into this bottle, we are applying some amount of grease to this split cork as well as to the mouth of this bottle. By this, what we are doing is KOH, that is potassium hydroxide, has capacity to absorb carbon dioxide. Now The condition we are providing for plant is inside the bottle there is no carbon dioxide, outside the bottle carbon dioxide is there. Remaining all conditions remain same. Water is supplied equally, sunlight is received equally, and as well as all the remaining conditions are stable. Only carbon dioxide is different. So with this we can understand whether carbon dioxide is required by the plant or not if by testing the leaf with the presence of starch. So this setup should be left for a few hours in a sunlight. Let us say about 4 to 5 hours we are keeping this setup in sunlight. After 4 to 5 hours we'll continue the experiment. Now after 4 to 5 hours we are detaching the leaf from the plant. And carefully we need to take the leaf out of this bottle. Now we can do the starch experiment, the same experiment which we have done to prove that starch is present in the leaf. First the leaf should be boiled in methylated spirit. The methylated spirit is taken in the test tube and that test tube is kept in the boiling water bath till the leaf becomes pale white in color. The chloroplast is destroyed. Now our leaf became pale white in color. We can go for iodine test. We are putting a few drops of iodine over the leaf and spreading it uniformly over the leaf. Initial color of iodine solution is yellowish brown color or pale brown color. But after leaving it for some time, we can observe that there is change in this iodine solution because this iodine reacts with the starch that is present inside the leaf. Only that part of leaf which is having starch can change the color of iodine solution. After a few minutes, what is happening? Let us watch. The part of the leaf which is outside the bottle, which is attached to the plant, turned itself into bluish black in color, while the part of leaf which is present inside the bottle, that is tip of the leaf, is present inside the bottle which is having potassium hydroxide solution, so it does not turn into bluish black color. With this experiment it is clear that the plant requires carbon dioxide for performing photosynthesis and the production of starch.
Okay, with this carbon dioxide experiment is completed and I hope you have understood that carbon dioxide is required for photosynthesis. Next, with the help of a hydrilla plant, we will be discussing oxygen is liberated during photosynthesis.
An experiment to prove that oxygen is liberated during photosynthesis. The materials required for this experiment are a beaker, a glass funnel, a test tube, a glowing splinter, and a hydrilla plant. So this is the hydrilla plant, scientifically called as Chara brownell. It is available in pond waters where there is water stagnant for a few days, 1 week or so. You can see this grows there. You can simply collect it from pond water and bring it for the experiment, children. First of all, we need to take some water into the beaker. Almost you need to fill the beaker completely with this water. Now you need to take the hydrilla plant into the funnel. Fix it into the stem of the funnel slowly, one by one, carefully, so that these hydrilla plants are not spoiled at all. These hydrilla plants need to be fixed into the funnel carefully, and it should be inverted into this beaker which is filled with water. Now that is the setup. Now we need to fill the test tube with water. This entire setup of water is required because it is a water plant and it can perform photosynthesis only in water. Now, so that gas bubbles do not enter into the test tube, slowly the test tube's mouth should be closed with a thumb and it should be inserted into the water. Only after the test tube is inverted in the water, the thumb is to be removed so as to avoid the glass bubbles. If there is any glass bubble in the test tube, we cannot understand whether any oxygen is released or not. So now see, there is no single gas bubble inside at the end of the test tube. So this setup that is required for the experiment is ready. See, we have an inverted funnel here. Inside that inverted funnel we have hydrilla plant, and over this funnel we have fixed the test tube which is not having any glass bubble. Now our experimental setup is ready. We need to keep this experimental setup in the sunlight for about 4 to 5 hours and observe what happens. See, after 1 hour we can see small gas bubbles coming out of chara plant. So these very nice, they look, see how they look, the gas bubbles that are coming out of the hydrilla plant are here. You can see they are getting collected gradually. So all these bubbles are accumulated at the upper end of the test tube. The bubbles are raising up and these bubbles are collected at the, observe it carefully children. See, see, initially there was no space here. Now because of the raise of gas bubbles, and these gas bubbles are collected at the end of the test tube. Now we need to test whether this gas that is liberated is oxygen or not. For that, when we are taking the test tube out, again we need to put the thumb so that no other gas enters into the test tube. Only the gas collected during the experiment is present in the test tube. Now carefully invert the test tube. All the gas is collected just below your thumb. Now get ready your burning splinter and bring it close to the mouth of the test tube and remove your thumb carefully. If the burning splinter, or you can bring your incense stick also, if it glows brightly, then it is gas. What? Oxygen gas. So oxygen helps in burning. That is the test for oxygen, children.
Children, you have understood that oxygen is liberated during photosynthesis with the help of this experiment, right? Okay, then it is about final experiment. That's nothing but sunlight is required for photosynthesis. Sunlight is required for photosynthesis will be proven with the following experiment.
Experiment to prove that light is essential for photosynthesis. The materials that are required for this experiment are a potted plant, a clip, a piece of black chart, and iodine solution. Take a potted plant which is having wide leaves as shown in this figure, children. Now we need to keep this plant in dark for a weekday. By keeping it in darkness for 1 week, we are making sure that all the starch that is present in the leaves is used up, because whatever leaf is having starch, it is used up because the leaf will not be able to perform photosynthesis inside darkness. So after 1 week, we have a plant which is having leaves free from starch. Now we need to select a leaf and cover half of the leaf with the black paper and fix this paper to leaf with the help of a clip. Now with this setup, what we are doing is we are making that half of the leaf is receiving sunlight and half of the leaf is not receiving the sunlight. Remaining all conditions are same for entire plant. We are leaving this plant in sunlight for 4 to 5 hours by supplying water to this plant. After 4 to 5 hours, we'll detach the leaf from the plant and remove the paper that is attached to the leaf. And we'll proceed with the starch experiment. We'll take the leaf inside a test tube which is having methylated spirit and boil it in a water bath till it becomes pale white in color. So now we have the leaf which is pale white in color. We'll perform the iodine test. We'll spread the iodine drop over the leaf completely. We'll completely spread this iodine over the leaf completely to see which part of the leaf turns bluish black in color and which part of the leaf does not turn into bluish black color. And we know that iodine in the presence of starch it turns into bluish black color. If there is no starch it does not turn into bluish black color, and only the part of leaf which can perform photosynthesis turns into bluish black color because of presence of starch. The part of leaf which did not perform photosynthesis will not turn into bluish black color because there is no starch. So after a few minutes, let us observe the leaf. See this leaf, only the part of the leaf which is exposed to sunlight turned into bluish black color, and the part of the leaf which is not exposed to sunlight did not turn into bluish black color. With this experiment, we understand that sunlight is required for photosynthesis.
Okay children, sunlight is required for photosynthesis. You understood that? And now we'll move to mechanism of photosynthesis. How does photosynthesis? What is the process behind the photosynthesis? And where does it occur? But before that, answer my question. Which part of plant is responsible for photosynthesis? Nothing but leaf. And in which part of leaf does this photosynthesis occurs? It's nothing but chloroplast. So before starting mechanism of respiration, we need to go through the structure of chloroplast. Then we'll continue the mechanism of respiration.
Chloroplast structure. In this module, we'll be able to learn the ultrastructure of chloroplast. Chloroplast is an organelle which is present inside the leaves of the plant and it is responsible for photosynthesis in the plant. And the number of chloroplasts is not common in all the plants. It is, chloroplast is present in wide variety of organisms like Chlamydomonas, Pyroghyra, and even it is seen in the higher plants. The number of chloroplasts is constant in case of Chlamydomonas and Pyroghyra. But in case of higher plants, it depends upon whether leaf performs photosynthesis or not. In a photosynthetic plant, in a photosynthetic cell, the chloroplast number is from 20 to 200 and the size of this chloroplast is 4 to 5 micrometers long. Coming to the shape of the chloroplast, it is plate shaped in chlorella. cup shaped in case of Chlamydomonas, ribbon shaped and spirally coiled in Spirogyra, star shaped in Zygnema, spherical and ovoidal in higher plants. Chloroplast is an organelle that is present in plants. It is having a double membrane envelope around, like most of the organelles. And the outer membrane is permeable to most of the materials, most of the particles that are present in the cytoplasm. But the inner membrane allows only certain particles to pass through it, which are in smaller size, like starch molecules or protein molecules, etc. Inside the chloroplast, in the stroma, which is the liquid portion of the chloroplast that is present inside the chloroplast, there are several enzymes that are present, and plastic DNA is present, as well as ribosomes are present. There is a third layer of membranes inside the chloroplast called as thylakoid, and this thylakoid, because of presence of three layers, there are three spaces inside the chloroplast. One is intermembranal space, and the second one is the stroma region of the chloroplast, and the third region is the lumen of the thylakoid. The thylakoids are arranged in stacks to form the granum of the thylakoid. These are actually disc-shaped structures arranged one above the other to the granum. And the membranes that form this thylakoid are called as fresh membrane. The membranes that connect one grana with another are called as intergranal membranes or stroma lamellae. That makes the structure of chloroplast. And the actual region where photosynthesis occurs is the stacks of thylakoid membranes. These stacks of thylakoid membranes have pigments in them which are arranged inside the membranes which receive the sunlight. These pigments which are arranged in the thylakoid membranes are called as photosystems or light harvesting complexes. As they receive the sunlight, directly they receive the sunlight, these pigments are arranged in large numbers inside the thylakoid membrane.
Okay children, this is about structure of chloroplast. Now, mechanism of respiration and its phases.
Mechanism of photosynthesis. The mechanism of photosynthesis is divided into two major phases. First one is light reaction and the second one is dark reaction, otherwise called as carbon fixation. The presence of two phases in the mechanism of photosynthesis was first reported by a scientist called Blackman. What happens in the light reaction? In the light reaction, the photosynthetic pigments which are present in the thylakoid membrane, they absorb the light energy and undergo a series of photochemical reactions to convert the trapped light energy into chemical energy. That is nothing but in the form of NADPH and ATP. These two are nothing but they have a lot of energy in them which can be later used in dark reaction. That is why they are called as assimilatory powers. Light reaction is a light dependent reaction and it takes place in the granum of the chloroplast. What happens during the light reaction? During the light reaction, the water molecules which are present inside the leaf split themselves to form H plus and OH minus ions. The H plus of this water molecule helps in building up NADPH from NADP. During this process, ADP takes up the inorganic phosphate and it is converted into ATP. So summing up, the light phase is a light dependent reaction which involves two major processes. First one is photolysis of water and second one is photophosphorylation. Photolysis of water is nothing but splitting of water molecule in the presence of sunlight. The word photo means light and lysis means splitting. Just now we saw that water molecule is converted into H plus and OH minus ions. That's under the influence of sunlight. When the light falls on the chlorophyll molecule, it gets excited because of the sun's rays, radiations, and helps in splitting of water molecule into H plus and OH minus ions in the presence of. When the light falls on the chlorophyll molecules, it releases electrons from the chlorophyll. This leads to the activation of chlorophyll, in other words, oxidation of the chlorophyll. The electrons are released from the chlorophyll, which are passed from one molecule to the another molecule in a series. And finally, the chlorophyll uses up the electrons that are released during the photolysis of water and comes back to the normal stage. So this excited chlorophyll which is present in the leaf helps in splitting of water molecule into H plus and OH minus ions. Now the H plus ions which are present inside this chloroplast help in converting NADP into NADPH2, which is an energy rich molecule. During this reaction, ATP molecule is produced from an ADP molecule. And the four OH minus ions that are released from water molecule again help in the construction of water molecule. This water is used up by the plant and oxygen is liberated during the process, is coming out of the leaf through the stomata. The electrons that are released during this process are used up to stabilize the chlorophyll molecule. So that is the end of the light reaction. The energy-rich molecules, that nothing but assimilatory powers that are produced in the light reaction, are used up in the dark reaction and are used to reduce the carbon dioxide to carbohydrates in a series of biochemical reactions. This reaction is not dependent on sunlight and occurs in the stroma region of the chloroplast. The summary of both the phases is like this: light reaction. The reactants of the side are having water molecule, ADP molecule, NADP molecule, energized chlorophyll molecule. The products that are obtained are oxygen molecule, ATP, NADPH, and a normal chlorophyll molecule. ATP and NADPH that are produced in the light reaction are used in the dark reaction to reduce carbon dioxide into carbohydrate, and as a result ATP is converted into ADP and NADPH is converted into NADPH.
Hope you understood about light and dark reaction, children. Yeah, that's end of this topic, today's topic. Happy learning, children. Keep safe yourself at home. Don't go outside unnecessarily, children. It's at most care time. Don't simply get out of homes and put yourself in troubles, children. Happy learning. Stay home and study at home.